Hi. I know a lot of people in here, almost everyone, which is so exciting and fun. For those of you who don't know me, I do work at the Legal Aid Bureau, and I practice housing law, and as Martha said. And as a practitioner, I don't usually traffic in big ideas. I traffic in very small ideas. But I also often, because I'm practicing alongside my students in the trenches, often can see very small problems and small solutions that really deserve to be magnified. And I think this is one of those, and I'd like to talk to you about it today, but first I have to figure out where to put my papers. Let's see. There's just not enough room. There we go. Okay, cool. And let me make sure this works. Oh, also, I'm not sure it's going to be interesting, so there are pictures. That's why I'm using the PowerPoint. I think it's interesting. I think it's fascinating. So here's where it all started. We used to have to do this. So we're practicing housing law, right? And we have 50 students, and they're out in the community, and they have these huge caseloads, and they're trying to manage their caseloads, and you're trying to stay on top of your cases, what's happening in your cases. And it's not always that easy to do that. So back 2 years ago, we would have to get an umbrella and a coat, apparently, at the end of May, and walk down to Harvard Square and get on the Red Line and take it to Charles and walk up Cambridge Street and go down the hill to the courthouse and then go up to the third floor and walk into the to the clerk's office. And there was a computer terminal, one, for the public, and you could type in your stuff and you'd get the information on your cases, right? That's how you found out what was going on in your cases. You don't want to call the clerk's office because they're going to be annoyed at you and then they're going to, refuse to take your papers the next time or schedule a hearing on your birthday or whatever. So you got to go down there, you got to look at your thing. And then one magical day, the court system put all the records online. So it was great. Like now we can find out what's going on in our cases without going anywhere. We can sit at our desks like we do in the 21st century, sit at our computers and get all the information that we could ever need. So we were very excited and we celebrated for like 30 seconds. And then after like 30 seconds, we realized, oh my gosh, not only we can get all of this information sitting at our computers in the middle of the night, also other people can get all of this information sitting at their computers in the middle of the night. And as it turns out, believe it or not, the court system did not put these records online for us, the students at the Harvard Legal Aid Bureau, to be more efficient in our casework. No, it was apparently, according to Richard Betzstein, who counts 90,000 blog readers per month or something like that, although I'm not quite sure. It was after years of lobbying by rental housing groups, among others. And why? Because it's a powerful new and free tool for tenant screening. So landlords can now go online and look at your records and see what you've got. So Maria Martinez applies for an apartment, and the landlord can go online, pull up Maria Martinez's, oh no, Maria Martinez has all these cases, okay. So this is a problem for our clients, and I think you are all Bostonians, so you know this, but I'm going to show you anyway. Boston has a vacancy rate of 2.6%. So that means that the competition for apartments is ridiculous. The average two-bedroom rent is over $2,600. A Social Security check, which a lot of my clients are living on, is about $800. So they're competing for a very, very, very small slice of the rent of the apartments in the city, and the vacancy rate is only 2.6%. So they can't really afford any barriers whatsoever. So this is like a huge problem that we're observing. Now, whoops, no, that ruined the fun. Okay, so, but you might say, like, what's the problem really with landlords screening their tenants and getting legitimate, publicly available data online? One of the problems is that the information that the court system publishes is totally unreliable. This thing was created, first of all, our court system is underfunded, severely underfunded. These are clerks sitting at desks. They have thousands of cases that they're supposed to input. They have people coming to the counters. It's too much. And so the information, it's garbage in, garbage out. You can't trust the information that's in here. Plus, you can see if your name is Maria Martinez, how is a landlord going to know which of these Maria Martinezes you are? And this is something that we're just starting, somebody pointed out a couple of weeks ago, and I think it's a good point, that this is something that's actually probably affecting the Latino population disproportionately. And then, there's all sorts of other inaccuracies in the data, like people are naming kids in eviction cases. So you're a teenager and the landlord, instead of bringing the case just against your mom, who's the tenant, it's like, let's just to be on the safe side, let's just bring an eviction case against everybody in the household. It's safer. Yeah, do you have a motion to dismiss, to get your name dropped out? Sure, but you're 16, one, and two, you're still going to have a record in mass courts, right? It relies on the landlord to click through your name, look at your docket, understand what all the docket entries mean, et cetera. So now you have 16-year-olds coming out with eviction records. So what this does is it forces tenants to think really hard about exercising their legal rights, right? Because if they do, they're going to end up in this database and they're going to be discriminated against in the housing market and maybe unable to get an apartment in the future. So if the heat's off in the winter, they got to think really, really hard about going in and suing the landlord to get the heat turned back on. If they, if the landlord wants to evict them, they have to think really hard about fighting that case in court. And the landlords know this. So this is an actual letter that a tenant got, a legal aid tenant out in Western Mass got last fall. And the landlord says, the landlord proposes this proposal, it's got all these onerous terms, and says to the tenant, okay, you got to take my deal or else I'm going to file a case against you. And when I do, even if we reach an agreement and it's all amicable, even if the case is dismissed against you, you will, and I quote, have a permanent record in housing court. They know this is terrifying. And then he goes on to say, if you win sanctions against me and you can say you won in court, do you think that will make any prospective landlords feel better about renting to you? So I see this as a major access to justice issue. It's just like a really silent, sort of boring one that I've gotten really interested in. The other thing I should just, this charming fellow also owns a lot of properties in Massachusetts, and this is another element of this. He's like, oh, this is what I do. I go in and see if they ever had a lawyer, because if they ever had a lawyer, I'm never renting to them, right? So this is the chilling of the exercise of legal rights. So other states have had their court records online for much longer than Massachusetts has, and they've seen this problem. It's been documented in law review articles and other things in other states, and other states have taken action to deal with the problem. So New York used to have this electronic data feed where they would just send out all the case information online. They stopped putting the tenants' names in the data feed because they were like, too much damage, right? In California, the cases don't go online for 60 days. If you resolve the case within 60 days, it never goes online. Minnesota, Washington, you can move to get your records taken down offline. You can move for the right to be forgotten. So, seems obvious, right? So we're pursuing these options in various branches of government in Massachusetts. It seems obvious that we should be able to do this, right? Right, Chris? So who could possibly be stopping me from getting these reforms passed? Well, I have a very unexpected adversary. It's this band of Oscar-winning folk heroes, and they want everything online. Everything needs to be online. They don't want to have to go down to the courthouse and get my client's information about that for that big story they're going to write about my client's housing. No. But I understand. I mean, the First Amendment concerns are very, the idea of transparency and open government. And I'm not kidding. John Albano and I have gone toe-to-toe, right? If he's not at the courthouse getting the Catholic Church to get Catholic Church records unsealed, he's like, in these committee meetings with me, battling with me. So I really would normally feel so strongly that the First Amendment and transparency and open government concerns were incredibly valid, but I am, as I watch this, starting to feel more that we should be thinking about what the Europeans already see, and that's the right to be forgotten. This is a picture that my boyfriend from when I was 13 posted on Facebook, right? And it's totally embarrassing. It's up there. Anyone can see it. You can all see it. And I don't want it there. I don't want everybody to see this forever. I want people to forget about that. I want to forget about that gray tuxedo and all of that stuff. But for me, it's like funny and embarrassing, whatever. For my clients, it is their livelihood. I mean, they can't get housing. They can't get jobs. People with criminal records can't access basic human needs. And so what we're working on in every branch of government that we can find and on every committee that we can find is just encouraging the government to strike the right balance when it looks at these issues and makes the right choices.